Now I have the presenter mode. Yes. Then let's start with a very simple question. How is your mood now? So please write on the chat how you feel. How you feel right now? Let me start mine so that will give you some time to write on the chat. I'm very happy, a little bit excited, and impatient to start because there are so much good content that I want to share with you. And most of all, I want to share my experiences so that I want this session to be very interactive. And also there are so many experienced participants as well. I'd love to hear their experience sharings as well when relevant. That would be great. So I'm curious to see how is your mood now? And we will do a chat exercise. Let me see. Yes, excited to learn. That's great. Excited to learn something new. That's great. We're all happy and excited. Now, as for the before starting, let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever experienced to be a member of Sales Management Advisor project so far on SME segment? So, could someone, if any of you had a similar experience, can you let me know? A member of a Sales Management Advisor project on SME segment. So I think that topic, that content will be from the advisory part will be very useful for you. So let's look at the expectations. You know, what we are about to discuss in the next 3 days will make it easier for you to build an effective advisory value proposition for your clients. Who are financial institutions, and all the way through, we will not be delivering a training course only, but as I said, you will share experiences, and I think that makes it very precious. And let me report your expectations that has been documented in the registration. We have a yellow sticky note, which you can see your expectations like to have a better understanding of SME advisory value proposition, SME segment sales processes, advisory services, selling skills on SME sales management projects, sales management on MSME segment, MSME sales strategy, key consideration relevant to business productivity, sales strategy and KPIs of SMEs and SME sales management. And there are a few other expectations that are very, very important topics. Thank you for bringing those up, like digital finance, learning general sales management techniques, or updating sales management skills from IFC perspective, or capability to sell climate finance. So these are very important topics, but not quite in the scope of this training. So I just wanted to confirm that our sticky note, yellow sticky note, will be our focus of this training. But I'm sure that these recommendations or expectations are already being acknowledged by learning and training team, maybe to be a guidance for the next modules. Yes, now let's go. Let me start. Let me spend a few minutes on what we will cover in the next 3 days. So if you don't mind, I'll just switch my camera because of network issues. I don't want to. I want to have a great connection. So let me just switch. Yes. As I said, this module has been designed to share a structural sales management approach and to provide a roadmap to build an advisory value proposition on SME sales management. In designing this training, I also wanted to focus on the most challenging areas of SME management model. As I said, this is not only designed as a training session, but also a knowledge sharing module. And I really, really appreciate your commitment to active participation because I believe learning from other participants' experience is what makes this training experience useful for you. So what we will cover on day one today, in the next 2 hours, we will refresh our knowledge on SMEs and SMEs attributes. And we will have a quick look at the SME market overview. Then we will cover key themes in SME sales strategy: segmentation, service model, and product and services for SMEs. But we will not stop today in sharing the key themes in SME sales strategy. Tomorrow, we will continue with 2 important topics as well. That is sales management tools, organization, and KPIs. And tomorrow, we will start also building a sound sales culture. And in day 3, we will continue with the sales culture by cross-selling, digital transformational sales management. And at the second half of day 3, we will together cover a roadmap for an advisory value proposition on sales management for SME banking. And I hope that will be a very great experience for all of us. We will have an assignment at the end of today. It will be a reading assignment. Don't worry, I know that your schedules are already quite tight. So this will be just, I want to read a page of content until tomorrow, so that when we are discussing a case, you will be able to catch the content. And we will have 5 minutes breaks at the end of 1 hour. And I think that's all for the agenda. Yes, now let's start. Let's start with a poll. This is a very, very, very easy question, by the way, but let's see how you answer. What is the percentage of small and medium enterprises in your country? 30%, 50%, 80%, or more than 95%? You can see the poll question on the chat as well. And please mark your answer and then just waiting for a few seconds, and the poll will be completed soon. Yes.
Just remember that there is not wrong or
no right
questions, because it depends on your country, so every single answer will be different. So don't be afraid, just answer the question.
That is not a quiz, by the way, of course. Yes. So we can see that most of our participants has marked more than 80%. You know, it is in numbers in many of the countries, almost without exception. SMEs are in number 98 to 99% of all the enterprises in the country. So that is a huge segment in terms of numbers. Maybe the contribution might differ from country to country in economic terms, but the number of enterprises, a majority number of enterprises in the country are SMEs. Yes, let's look at closely. In this session, in the SME market overview, we will discuss the contribution of SMEs to the global economy, the challenges and benefits of serving SMEs from the financial institutions' perspective, and how financial institutions focus SMEs. We will a little bit focus on that. And at the end of this session, given the attributes of SMEs, you will be able to explain how market outlook defines SME focus of financial institutions and the importance of SME segment for the banks. Now let's take a quick look at the contribution of SMEs to the value addition and global banking revenues. We have already shared that almost 99% of all enterprises are SMEs in most of the countries. And there are more numbers here, like this SME segment generates 1/5 of the global banking revenues. And SMEs generate around $850 billion globally, and an annual expected growth rate is over 7%, is 7% over the next 7 years. So these numbers are from McKinsey June 2019 Global Practice Reports, and these numbers are proof of the importance of SME segment to the overall economy, of course. So in each and every conversation or report on SMEs, you can see the first paragraph starting with the contribution of SMEs to the GDP, or job created, or value added. For sure, SMEs are drivers of the job creation and GDP growth. Unfortunately, they face severe constraints to grow. So this lack of size results to limit their access to markets, skills, capital. Moreover, if you experience with this segment, you can identify that the lack of formalization is a barrier to access to finance. So this is the other side of the coin. If most of the financial institutions consider SMEs to be risky or costly to serve, then how banks can serve SMEs and generate profitable business with this segment? This is our question, by the way. This is a very important question for SME bankers and the advisors to SME banking. Let's take a look at how leading SME banks responded to this challenge. They report that SME banking means more than SME lending. What is that? What does it mean? Any idea? Anybody wants to?
Anyone that wants to respond to this, I mean, they can write it or open their microphone.
Yes.
But this is very important because normally when we look at SME banking, we normally tend to think only about lending, but it's more than that. So what is actually, what we mean by SME banking?
I will unmute Amit. Yes.
I think Amit have a...
See, I think when we talk about SME, and we just had the survey talking about 80% of the, in terms of numbers it's covered. It clearly has a larger impact in terms of the country as a whole. Plus, it has a lot of sector, gender, development. I would say it has a 360-degree impact when it comes to SME. So it's not only just the financial numbers or the business numbers, which usually bankers would like to look in a balance sheet, but SME banking has a much wider spread and thing that we end up analyzing before we, before we make a decision in terms of finance. So though some sections may be risky, some sections may not have structured documentation, but still, as a country, as a nation, or as a financial institution, you still end up lending to them because it may have wider social impact.
Perfect, David. I like the way how you put it out, and the emphasis that you have made on the social impact is really, really important. And it's, as we said, it's creating jobs and for value addition and their role in the supply chain. All of them are very important. So what does it mean for a bank is more and more opportunities if they go into the ecosystem of SMEs.
And I would like to add, something that Amit mentioned is like that 360 view of the SME client to make sure that the banks understand that the SME clients have different needs and try to address those needs with different type of SME products. I think that is, and what I mean by products will be lending products, liability products, and non-financial services.
That's great explanation. Thank you so much, Christian. And also, they say they generate more than 60% of their SME revenue coming from non-lending products. And that's a proof, actually, of what we have discussed just now. There is no one-size-fits-all approach in sales models, since SME market is diverse. Most of them have mass market sales approach for smaller enterprises that heavily rely on direct channels. So when we are talking about SME market, it's not a unique or one-size-fits-all approach. Doesn't work. So we need to adopt different approaches within the different groups or sub-segments in the SME segment. And we will go into detail of this sentence in the next sections. Revenue is based on revenue base is built on prioritizing cross-sell and its volume-driven businesses. That's for sure. So we have mentioned about their 360 impact, and also when we are using such tools for cross-sell or for mass market approach, what you need is a support from IT and MIS. So working as one team in the bank for SME banking is very, very important. The winning models are the ones who have been able to work with in cooperation with the other departments in the bank as one team for SME segment. Focusing on SME segment is also shaped by the market outlook. The market outlook can be defined as the business needs of SMEs are increasing right now. The banks should capture that opportunity And by digital transformation, more and more SMEs are integrated to domestic and global value chains. They can contact they can contact the suppliers or potential customers by Google Translate. That wasn't possible maybe to do the case ago. Now in Turkey, we have a very serious problem in English throughout the country, but our SMEs in Turkey do the Google Translate with their entrepreneurship willingness, enthusiasm, and they can reach out e-commerce platforms to find new markets, new suppliers. So that's quite interesting, that digital transformation, different than what we might anticipate for SMEs, especially with the young generation, they are capturing this opportunity very, very rapidly. So as banks, as financial institutions, we don't have to be behind that. So we don't have to expect SMEs to be not to be digital savvy. We understand the kind of SMEs who are digital savvy and try to organize our products and services according to that. And they take advantage of digital disruption, and in many markets, fintechs target SMEs. And of course, this new economy will bring some new regulatory challenges as well. So effects of digital disruption is also an important factor in the SME market right now. We won't be able to go into details of the digital disruption, but as we are advisors shaping up the next 5 years, so in a bank with a sales model, this effects of digital disruption has to be also being focused by updating our knowledge about the specifics in the market, fintechs, what they are doing, how they are targeting SMEs. Now, let's go back to understand which type of enterprises we call as SMEs. Here is a pool question again. Does IFC have a specific definition of SME segment? Yes, you can also take the poll right now. Does IFC have a specific definition of SME segment? I like the answer, it depends.
Everybody likes that answer.
It's a very good answer, by the way. Yes, Paul is...
Paul is about to close, so make sure that you vote.
Yeah. See, it depends. That's good. Yes, nine of our participants already know that IFC has a specific definition of what is SME segment. Now let's refresh our knowledge and look at the definition of how IFC defines SME segment. Now let me go to my thumbnail. Okay. You can see 3 different groups, which we call sub-segments here. Micro, small, medium. And before this session, we have discussed with Christian that microfinance or micro means a different discipline domain in IFC. So from now on, we will call what we refer as micro as very small enterprise in order not to confuse you with the microfinance, okay? For you? Okay, so as you can see, there are 3 criteria for definition of SMEs from IFC perspective. What are these? number of employees, and total assets, and annual sales. But employees is a criteria on its own. Total assets or annual sales is or. So employees and total assets or annual sales. So whichever is applicable to the numbers. So we can either take total assets or annual sales as a criteria for identifying very small enterprises, small and medium enterprises within the definition of IFC.
And something I would like to add, sorry, Esra, is that especially in terms of the total asset or annual sales, it will also depend on the country. I mean, because for some countries, I mean, a 3 million annual sales for a small enterprise may actually be more on the medium side. So it really depends on the country, but these are general assumptions that IFC have made as per the data that we have collected through the year. So just be aware that maybe in some countries 3 million may be a medium enterprise versus a small one.
Yeah, that's right. And as you said, it may depend from country to country. While there's a general agreement that SME market is significant in size and importance, as you said, there is considerable variation in definition of SMEs around the world. So in your experience, you will see different experiences, different definitions of IFC within the country, amongst the banks. You will see different definitions, and we will have an exercise on that as well. So, if you have a question or if you want to share anything, where at the end of this questions, if you are okay, just give me a green tick for me to understand that you are with me. Give me a green tick, please. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Golam. Thank you, Thank you, Isimka. Thank you, Rahendra. I can see your ticks, Olena. Thank you so much. Okay, now what we'll have in this section, we have discussed the contribution of SMEs to the global economy, the challenges and benefits of serving SMEs from the point of view of banks, and also the definition of SMEs from the perspective of IFC. Now, in the next section, we will go into the details of key themes in SME sales strategy. To build an effective strategy today and tomorrow, we will deep dive into segmentation, service models, product services, tools, and organizations and KPIs. Actually, I like this slide very much because it shows us the whole roadmap when we are designing an effective sales strategy. So all these themes here that is shown, segmentation, service model, product services, tools, organization, and KPIs, they are all linked to each other. And there are interdependencies. And throughout the next sessions, you will see this interconnectedness, interdependencies. And also, at some stage, you might feel that we are repeating the same knowledge, but it is in the context of the actual sales strategy that we are mentioning. So all of them have, as I said, interdependencies, and they complement each other. Banks identify their segments based on the target group, identify service models to reach them, identify products and services to offer them, and to do all these activities within an organizational structure. They have different structures, and they monitor performance by KPIs by using various sales management modules. So let's start with the segmentation. We have started a little bit. You have the teaser, but now in this session, we will take a close look on the types of the segmentation in SME banking to discuss why banks have different approaches in serving the SME segment. And at the end of this session, you will be able to explain the strategic areas in building segment strategy, to explain various criteria for SME segmentation, and to identify the factors that determine segmentation and business organization. Understanding the drivers of a bank when setting a segmentation criteria will help you to better build your offer in a project, in a potential project that you're involved. So I think starting with segmentation will be important for our knowledge building. We have just looked a closer look at. We have just looked closely in the how ISC defines SME segment. You know, it's about the number of employees, asset size, annual sales. These are the size criteria. That is the most common and fundamental type of segmenting SMEs. And actually, this, as I said, this is the fundamental base, this size segmentation. But should it be limited to size segmentation when we are mentioning SMEs? Absolutely not. So we should have different types of segmentation as well, like value-based segmentation. This value-based segmentation is actually with the potential value tiers. So what is the value to the bank? And this is also adopted by many banks, and they use it. They use the size segmentation as a fundamental segmentation, but they build on other segments in potential value tiers. For example, customers who are price sensitive or costly to serve might be a tier in this value-based segmentation. As I said, this model focuses on to identify meaningful subgroups within the customer value to the bank. And also, this segmentation most of the time is used for effective pricing. Most segmentation criteria poorly correlate with different motivations of different buyer groups to pay higher or lower prices. So the focus, in summary, I can say that the focus of this type of value-based segmentation is profitability. Here is another type of segmentation, which is industry. And I'm sure that you're all familiar with that. Sectoral segmentation, sometimes it's called industry-based segmentation or sectoral segmentation, but it is used when there is a special focus on some segments. Anyone you want to give an example? What can be an example of sectoral-based or industry-based segmentation? Could you write one example on chat, please? Can I see your answers on chat? What can be tourism? That's great. Tourism, construction. Great answers. Maybe one more significant that we can add. Any other? Agribusiness. Absolutely. Absolutely. Agri Apparel might be another answer, but agri is the most common industrial sector segmentation we have seen in SME banking. That's edible, yes. RMG. Sorry, Zakia, what is RMG? Maybe I couldn't be able to recognize. RMG? Ready-made garments. Okay, sorry for that. Sometimes the explanations might not be familiar for me, or different. Ready-made garments. Yeah, that's great. That's great. These are the examples of industry segmentations. So why do we have industry segmentations? Why do we need them? Because of the needs. The sector identifies the needs, actually, and these needs are different from the other customers. And the needs of the industry, like agriculture, as you said, tourism, as you said, construction, as you said, they are different from the other groups. And these differentiations, different needs are regardless of the size. If you are in the agricultural sector, you are different from the very small enterprises. If you are only a small farming enterprise, your needs are different from the rest of the very small enterprises. So industry understanding is important in building an effective customer value proposition. Geographical, another type of segmentation is geographical based on the location of the segment. This applies when you are working with a client bank who has footprints in different countries. So it is not, for example, not common in my country because we don't segment customers geographically because we are all speaking Turkish all over the country. So there is no specifics to require that. But if your client has, as I said, footprints in different countries, that should be another type of segmentation if the needs of SMEs are different from the other geographies. And we have already added the digital segmentation. So segmenting customers according to their channel preference is one of the most common practices in the last decade especially, and will even be more predominant in the next years. So willingness to use digital channels is an important indicator when you are identifying the service model. So this seems to be a preference, but also we are now witnessing a new segment within SME banking, especially young generation, who doesn't use branches. So they're all digital SMEs. And we need to understand their needs as well. So we don't need to miss them within the size segmentation or within the industry segmentation or within the value-based segmentation. We need to look at the channel preferences of our customers to understand them better and to segment them to identify their needs. And the other type of segmentation is risk-based. In this segmentation, customers are grouped according to the risk appetite of the bank. And these groups can be identified as growth customers, hold customers, or exit customers. But as I said, this is also a type of segmentation that you can build on the size segmentation as well from the risk perspective. So when you are having a different view on the risk strategy, so you can just segment the customers as grow, hold, or exit. And the other type of segmentation is utilization of a certain product. as a criteria for grouping customers, segmenting customers, like trade customers or derivatives, especially when the products are complex. That is kind of product type segmentation is used. So there, in here, the needs are also taken into consideration, and these customers having complex needs should be served differently. And need-based segmentation is similar to industry segmentation, but in that case, the needs require more delicate approach. Like, let me give the opportunity to write you what can be the examples of need-based segmentation. Can you give me an example? Sub-segment. Yeah. Here, Rahendra has a comment. Won't be a sub-segmentation rather than a pure segmentation. Actually, that's a very good comment, Rahendra, because as I said, you can build on the size segmentation, and when we build on the sub-segmentation, we can call it as we build on the size segmentation, we can call it a sub-segmentation. So you can just consider it as a sub-segmentation as well. That's a very good comment. Thank you for clarification. And what can be the need segmentation? I think you are very familiar with that, but maybe when I say need-based segmentation, it might not export can be segmented based on their needs, international trade. That's also true, but we can just consider it as a part of the product segmentation, that trade products. So you can consider it in the context of the product sub-segmentation. Great, Andrea, thank you so much. Women entrepreneurship. That's the topic I really I have given my heart on that. So women entrepreneurship. That's great. So women entrepreneurs as a sub-segment, and in some countries that can be immigrants enterprises, for example, or minority as a sub-segment. So you might have different yes, you have already identified minority. Thank you, Andrea. And startups. Do you think startups is a good example? Yeah, so startups can be, startups have different needs, different specific needs, let me say. This is about the need-based clusters or subsegments. So as I said, subsegments like very small enterprises, small, medium, are identified by size segmentation in general. With using data and client information, we can be able to capture more insights, like the complexity of the needs and the potential of the customer. So the segmentation preference or the sub-segmentation preference may be two-step, like as I said, size segmentation, and on top of size segmentation, you can have product type sub-segments or need type sub-segments. So my recommendation will be starting with this size segmentation, because size segmentation also has some impact on the organization. We will cover later in the distribution models. So if you build your fundamental as size segmentation, and you can then build on other types of, I have to say, sub-segments on top of the these three very small, and medium, or if you want, you can have some top complex SMEs. you can just build on top of these fundamental size segmentation. Yes, and sometimes we don't have so much data to identify the needs. Okay, so we sometimes need to know more about our customers. Not all the information is available in the systems, in the data. So what we can do to identify these needs, we can conduct market surveys, do direct observations, use external data, gender, age, sector, industrial data can be used. So we can identify, as I said, these different types of customers with specific needs. Now we have a small exercise here. I will show you 4 different banks which have different segmentation thresholds, and also you will recognize that they have built their organizational segments also on this segmentation. So in the next slide, I just want you to just spend a few minutes on the 5 minutes on the slide, and then write on the chat what is at least one reason. Give me at least one reason on chat why you think these 4 banks have different segmentation thresholds. Here are our banks: Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, Bank D. Yes. We have 5 minutes when you take a closer look at the slide. And maybe you will realize that the labeling names are different. Some call it business banking, some call it corporates, some call it SMEs. So there are different definitions in the banks. And the challenge for an advisor is to understand what the bank's terminology is. So we have another 3 minutes. So if you have, please write on the chat right now if you can see at least one reason why.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is why this bank decided to segment clients in the way that they are shown. For example, for Bank 1, I mean, they have segmented on mass business banking, upper business banking, mid-corporate clients. I mean, that bank, what would be their strategy or their focus on? Versus, for example, Bank B, that is focusing more on micro or very small enterprises, SMEs and corporates. Why do they want to mention or segment their clients in that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. Rahendra, depends on how they define segments. What is their focus? What category bank they are? Thank you, Rahendra. Do I spell your name? Do I pronounce your name right?
Rajendra is correct, yeah. Rajendra.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry if I pronounce it a different way. Yeah, risk appetite of the banks can be a reason. That's a very good answer as well. What else? Okay, thank you. What else?
Sometimes it's the profile of the bank. I mean, some banks want to be perceived in the market in a certain way, and that's why they want to target specific segments, right?
Yeah.
That's perception or profile of the bank in the market.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And also, I mean, it's a business strategy, client focus.
Yeah.
And you can see that these are so different, and even within the same country, within the same market, you can see these differences. So this is, as you said, depends on different factors, like focus, as most of you has identified the focus area. So they focus on the segment where they want to grow. So that's how they identify their segments. And scalability, so the size and volume of the segment in the economy, that is also important. If you are a very small enterprise SME country, then you need to focus on the very small enterprises as a bank who wants to be profitable on SME segment. So you cannot neglect them if the market is like that. But if you are in a country that also industrial mid-sized SMEs are prevailing in the economy, then you make your segmentation criteria according to this. And also profitability, the balance between cost to serve and revenue base. And I think this profitability aspect is very important because as we mentioned in the beginning, cost to serve is an important concern for bank SME professionals. So we would love to have separate RMs for the low end of the very small enterprises, but sometimes you end up with a very increased cost income if you try to do that. So the balance between revenue and cost to serve is an important factor when you identify your focus as well. So Rehendra has also commented on chat that the definition also depends on if the bank is a locally promoted or regional growth. That's also, thank you for bringing up this, Rehendra. This is an important point as well. So if you want to if you're a global bank, your perspective might be different, and if you are a local bank, your focus might be different. So it's all depends on the focus where the bank wants to grow. So as an advisor, this alignment with the SME banking professionals or the top management of the bank is very important. There is no ideal segmentation. There is no the best segmentation, but there is the best segmentation from the point of view of the bank, where they want to grow. Where is the market going? What is the potential of market, and what is the balance? How to serve with them with a consideration on the profitability.
And I think that at the end of the day, all of that, I mean, focus, profitability, and scalability, all of that is really looking at the strategy of the bank, right? I mean, really, those are key elements of your bank strategy that we want to, as advisors, we want to understand in order to really to tailor our advisory services to help the bank on those particular areas, especially when we are looking also at sales management, right? Because all of that will be, I mean, which are the segments that you want to focus will also dictate the sales management strategy that you're gonna want to use to really reach profitability or reach scale, etc.
That's a very important point, Graham, and sorry, Christian, but let me also add that even if you are not an advisor, you are not from the advisory services, even if you are from the investment, and
yeah, of course, yeah,
so many participants from investment domain as well. So if you are also, how to say, preparing a deal for, let's say, very small enterprises finance for a bank, and if you see that they don't have any any appetite for that segment or any focus for that segment. So it will be a concern for you. So you should the segmentation of the bank should be understood very well from different perspectives as well. If you are advising or if you are extending some facilities, so that is why we have spent more time on the segmentation. Any questions so far? Give me a green tick if we are all comfortable. Green ticks. Thank you, Graham, Galam, Han, Rehendra, thank you. And in this session, actually, we have discussed different approaches to segments or sub-segmenting SME clients and the factors affecting banks' preferences on segmentation. Now you will be able to explain also 5 themes in sales strategy. We will go into the details of that in the next sections as well. And we have seen various types of criteria for grouping, segmenting, or sub-segmenting our customers. And segmentation is the first step to build a segment strategy. And after the coffee break, now we will continue with the SME banking service model. So now we have 5 minutes of refreshment now. We'll see you at 11:40. Sorry, it's my time. 4:40.
Or in 5 minutes for everyone that is not on Singapore time.
Yes, different time zones. So 5 minutes. 5 minutes is great. Thank you. See you in 5 minutes.